All right, welcome back to Jack Sports Television. I'm Brian Lyle. This is Pat Donovan. Damien took a break. He'll be coming back up and talk a little bit golf. And open mic Thursdays, football players, athletes.
Does that mean I get to rap?
You can do whatever you want to do.
I can rap.
Well, what we're going to do, what you and I are going to do, you can rap, but you need to rap your way out of this topic when we start talking about athletes in NASCAR. Football players, we can agree, are athletes. Okay.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Basketball players, we can agree, are athletes.
Great athletes.
Fighters, they're athletes.
Great athletes.
Tennis players, they're athletes. Gymnasts, they're athletes. Okay. Hockey, they're athletes. Soccer, they're athletes. Okay. And there's other sports out there. Track and field obviously has some supreme athletes. Why don't you think NASCAR involves athletes?
See, well, what I really say and what I really believe is that NASCAR is not a sport. And I'm not saying that every guy that drives in NASCAR is a fat slob or can't do anything. I will say this. Tony Stewart, open challenge. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and I can't even
Wait a minute. Speaking of Tony Stewart, okay, Jim Boeheim had a quote last week.
Can't even skate, and I'll beat you at hockey.
Tony Stewart was in Syracuse, and Jim Boeheim talked about his jump shot was better than he thought it would be.
No, okay. Get me on the court. Get me on the court.
Jump shot was better. Now, what he thought it would be, I don't know, but he said his J was better than he thought it would be.
That must have been the J they was smoking together, if anything. Because I'll tell you what, it wasn't his jump shot in basketball. Tony Stewart, what is he, 4'6"? Tony Stewart, I will beat you at any sport alive. And that's
I read his quotes talking about Bobby Knight. He's from Indiana.
I don't give a damn where he's from. He can't beat me at basketball or football or baseball. Tony Stewart, this is a challenge. I'll beat you at any sport. And here's the thing. You take any NFL player, and they can beat me at any sport out there, whether it's basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever. An NFL player is such a good athlete, is such a phenomenal athlete, that they'll beat me at any sport on the planet. You take an NBA player, and they'll beat me at baseball, basketball, football, hockey. You take any hockey player, any baseball player, any professional athlete who plays in a sport, which NASCAR is not. I'm sorry, but it's an activity. It's not a sport.
Okay, okay. Let me tell you about some of the athletes in NASCAR, okay? Guy by the name of Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett was an all-state basketball player in high school. All-state. And I even believe he might have played junior college. Elliott Sadler, all-county basketball. Those are some of the athletes that you see in NASCAR. Carl Edwards, the cover of Men and Fitness. But here's why they're athletes, to be seriously. Here's why they are athletes, though. They're a different kind of athlete. You take a guy like Carl Edwards. You take a guy like Shrub, Kyle Busch. Okay, the ability to run in a Truck Series race. Okay, the same weekend, then nationwide. Okay, and then Sprint Cup. You're talking about driving competitively. Okay, over 1,000 miles in a 2 or 3 day span. That takes a tremendous amount of ability. How much? I don't know. I've never been in a car to drive, but I do know the endurance. There's a reason why Michael Waltrip runs marathons and triathlons each year. There's a reason why Carl Edwards puts in that type of training. There's a reason why, believe it or not, Danica Patrick puts in that type of training. And just to name a few, because those are
Danica Patrick. I'm sorry, Danica Patrick. Perfect example. Perfect example. You take a woman. And I'm sorry to say this, you take a woman in any sport outside of maybe golf, and even in golf, they get a lot of trouble hanging out with the men with the long game and stuff. When you talk about the driving down the fairway, they have trouble staying with them. But you take a women's basketball player, and I'm sorry, she is not the best women's basketball player. Is probably not better than the worst player in the NBA. She's probably not. I'm sorry. And this is from a guy, I played with girls in high school that were better than I was at basketball. I couldn't hit a softball off one of our softball pitchers in high school. I'm not saying women aren't athletes, but what I'm saying is, in a professional sport, women do not belong on the same field as men. And that's why, one more reason why NASCAR isn't a sport. Because...
I completely disagree with you. Man, let me tell you something. If you've ever played basketball, okay, I was at University of Richmond. We had some girl that set the free throw record. And I remember Billy Packer.
Could she play in the NBA?
I know this. I played against her in a game of 21. If I left that girl wide open, she was hitting J's constantly. And I'm not talking about Candace Parker. Candace Parker, there's no way in the world. If somebody said, hey, Brian, you want to play a pickup game with Candace Parker? I'm not getting out on the court. If Don Staley's on the court, I'm not getting out on the court. The fact of the matter is, Shamiqua Holdsclaw, those girls, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, they can flat out play.
They can, but they can't play with the men.
There's no way in the world. Let me tell you something.
They can't play with the men.
Listen, I'm a borderline professional athlete. I'm telling you right now, I would not want to go out on that court with them. I would get schooled. There's no ifs, ands, or maybes about it.
Then you're not a borderline NBA player.
That's taken away. No. The fact of the matter is, those girls can flat out play.
But they can't play to the level that men can.
Well,
That's the honest to God truth.
They don't have the strength.
Exactly.
But
she can compete in NASCAR. That's my point. She can compete in NASCAR.
Why does NASCAR test for steroids?
Because who gives a damn?
Because
I only care about sports here.
Every second counts in NASCAR. There's a reason why, and it's the pit crew. Okay, there's a reason why when you take a look at some of these facilities, okay, whether it's Hendrick, whether it's Roush, their weight rooms are the size of NFL weight rooms. Every second counts. There's a reason why you have guys from Virginia Tech's former football team. Every team, every organization, whether it's Joe Gibbs Racing, whether it's Roush, whether it's Richie Petty Motorsports, I can guarantee you has ex-football players or ex-hockey ball players within that pit crew. There's a reason why they pump all that iron. These guys are athletes. They're athletes in a different way, okay? Just like hockey guys are different types of athletes than guys in the NFL. The NFL athlete is far superior than an athlete in the National Hockey League.
Brian, I will give you this. I will give you this. NASCAR drivers are more athletes than NASCAR is a sport. There are athletes out there who cook. There are athletes out there who clean houses. There are athletes out there that do a lot of activities like drive cars, because that's an activity and not a sport. So if you want some activity, you want to have a good time after a sporting event, so don't take your NASCAR tickets, a sporting event. Take the ticket from a sporting event, and you can get into Vegas Showgirls anytime for free. We'll be back after this on Jack Sports TV.
Stay tuned next week. Damian Baldwin back in the house, talk about Ford and the resurgence.